while since I've been here. I don't remember the last time I spoke here. Thank you, Will, for your Dharma talks. I haven't yet listened to them, so I look forward to that. And so thank you for doing that while I was not here. Allison also was not here at the same time, so thank you for that. It's always an interesting thing to go somewhere. I don't exactly know what it means or what happens in us when we go someplace different. I went to some places that were familiar to me. Certainly in Switzerland, I went to my grandson's graduation and to see family, and Zurich is a very familiar place to me now because I've been there so many times. And so I don't go as a sightseer, I go as a family member and to spend time with family. And that's indeed what I did this time. And at the same time, we are also, parts of it are unfamiliar, even though we know where we are, we recognize the terrain, and yet we encounter different people, we eat different food, and so there are many things about it that are quite different. And I went on then to Scotland with Shinshu Roberts and Jaku Kinst, and we met in London and then took the train to Edinburgh, where we spent several days, and then we went to Glasgow for a shorter time, and then we went to Oban, and we took a day trip to Iona, which is Scotland's most sacred place. Iona is where St. Columba landed in about 563 and brought Christianity to that part of the world. And it's this little tiny island about 5 miles by 3 miles by 1 mile, about, very small, and nothing there really except a monastery, an abbey, and now there are some couple of little small places where you can stay overnight or spend a week or something like that there. And there are some people who live on that island now, but very small place. It's right just out in the middle of nowhere. And of course you can look across and you can see the Isle of Mull, and then you can see other islands in the Hebrides. But you were really right on the Atlantic, and it's windy and cold, and beautiful day when we were there, nevertheless, but I can only imagine what it's like in winter. Maybe true of all of Scotland. But then there's this sense of what happens and who we are and where we are and how we find ourselves in some other location, and all these encounters with people we've never seen, and tidbits of language and discussion that takes place on the boat, on the ferry, where people speak to one another, and things people say to one another across the table in restaurants, and so many people we encountered and who spoke with us. And so, you know, it is like John Kabat-Zinn says, wherever you go, there you are. So, you know, I certainly was someplace, and yet at the same time, it's a strange experience. You don't exactly know what has happened when you go away like that. That's my experience anyway. I don't exactly know really what I encountered. Even though I kept a journal and I drew pictures, sketches of places I'd been, and at the same time it's overwhelming with people and views and new beds to sleep in, and constantly learning where things are. So I look to try to settle on a a topic for tonight in spite of, saying those things. And I came across this essay that I had actually written for Ancient Way Journal a couple of years ago, and it's the practice of pilgrimage. And it talks about the fact that all of life is a pilgrimage, that all of it is the unknown that we go into, and we find ourselves by entering the unknown and by allowing the way that we go to come forward to us, to for awakening to appear. As Dogen says that, the awakening is that which comes forward to us, not that we go out into the world, but that the world comes to us, and that is the experience of awakening. And so there is that sense as we go on this kind of pilgrimage that it comes at us, that all of that life that is going on another continent was coming at us as we were going forward. It was coming at us, and it's unspeakable to try and say what it is exactly. Some of you remember Joan Stam. She brought us this book, A Pilgrimage in Japan, the 33 Temples of Kannon. And in it, she suggests that instead, which is more than one expert on global crises and the environment, has suggested that changing tourism to pilgrimage would have a significant positive impact on the world. In other words, bringing sacred intent to our travel, to the land, people and places we encounter when traveling, whether domestic or international, could transform the planet. And I thought about that a great deal. I felt very much as though for all we were on a tour, we were having fun, we were enjoying ourselves, and at the same time we are people of practice, and so we can't not be who we are in our intentions, and so we brought that with us in every place we went, in our dealings, and people were so utterly kind. Everybody was so kind to us, because we were also kind to them, but just the sense of graciousness wherever we went was just very beautiful to experience. So this is my words, not Joan's, but so it is what we do when we travel. We step into the unknown with an awe and anticipation that to be in a new place, a new environment, reshapes and refreshes our lives by right of the sacred nature of place. Our travels are constituted of an inner hallowed exploration, regardless of where our feet take us. The nature of place in pilgrimage affects us inwardly and transforms our world. So I think this was true for us in that we were transformed just as some of our exchanges transformed that moment with various people with whom we encountered, unexpected people, just simple kindnesses that were done between us. And so we were hardly ugly Americans. We were certainly not that, but a sense of being on sacred land wherever we went. At least that was my feeling, my experience. Dogen Zenji tells us that we don't have to go, we don't have to travel someplace in order to be awakened, in order to search for awakening. We don't have to do that at all. And in many of our texts, we see about the monks who hang up their traveling sticks, or whatever they call them. They're hiking sticks, and they hang them up in the temple when they arrive at the temple of their practice. And it symbolizes their rootedness then in that place. So I feel so deeply happy to be able to come home, of course, to be able to hang up my pilgrimage hiking staff, and to feel a sense of gratitude for being able to come home and feel a sense of home, and gratitude for the practice that takes place whether I'm here or not. And that is deeply important to, it's certainly important to me, but it's not about me at all. It is about our sacred place here, our sacred place of practice that, is our rootedness. So, I hadn't read this essay for a long time, but Dogen Zenji writes of those who have made a pilgrimage for the practice of Ongo. He says, "You need to do the practice and training out of a desire to emulate the ancient ways. Once the fists and noses have all taken up residence in the halls of the monastery, they hang up their traveling bag in their place for the duration of the retreat. This means that the retreatants become the fists of thorough investigation by putting aside conceptual thinking and idle language. Their noses are the breath of Dharma, tense with inner spirit. Each stopping place, each day, another point in the pilgrimage of an entire life." So we are about to engage in our sesshin, our summer sesshin, and that sesshin that we do is always a pilgrimage within a pilgrimage. Last year we took a journey, 2 years in a row, we took a journey within the journey of our sesshin, of our full moon sesshin, and we will again this year engage in that unspoken and unknowing discovery that I trust will happen for each of us in the exploration of that sesshin. We also have a couple of other things happening. Duncan Ryugen Williams, is that his name? Duncan Ryugen Williams is a Soto Zen Buddhist priest. He also is a teacher at University of Southern California. And he's written a book, wrote it this year, it's called American Sutra, A Journey of Faith and Freedom in World War II. And it's a book about the internment camps, the Japanese internment camps. And Duncan is participating along with other Buddhist teachers in a demonstration at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, which was a center for internment. And now it is going to be used for internment for the children from the border. Mm-hmm. And so a big demonstration is taking place there on July 20th, next week. And so Duncan has asked for people to make these beautiful cranes so that people from all over the world or the country, whoever can make cranes, he will bring them to demonstrate this at Fort Sill. The cranes are kind of magical somehow. They're a very deep symbol in Buddhism, and maybe each wing represents wisdom and compassion. And when these cranes appear in places, thousands of them, I think he's hoping to get 10,000. When these cranes appear, somehow the place is transformed, by the voices of all of these cranes that we think are silent on their chains and yet are singing something deep and important into the world. So this is my work this week, and on Saturday we are going to take the time to make cranes together and send them off in the afternoon, mail them off to Duncan so that they'll arrive on time for him to bring to Fort Sill. We are among many other Dharma centers that are doing this work, and I've been engaging in it, and it is quite interesting to make these cranes and fold up this paper and have it transformed into the shape of a crane. It's really very stunning, and is just the action of it is prayer, and the action of it is a great, not a wish, but a thrust of Dharma being sent forward. And so we will do that on Saturday morning. Anybody who can make them in the meantime, you're most welcome to do that, and then to bring them over, and I'll stitch them together so that they can hang on these chains. They have to be a certain size, etc. And another thing that is happening as far as pilgrimage is concerned also is that Lights for Liberty is an organization that is having a demonstration. It's a vigil at the Capitol campus on Friday night from 7 to 9:30, a candlelight demonstration. So far, about 1,500 people have expressed interest in going. It won't be a march, but it will be just at the Capitol campus. There'll be speeches and so forth. And Lights for Liberty is an organization of young people, and it is about, of course, in response to the internment of the families and the children at the border. And this is a national, it's a national organization, but it is also a national response that is happening Friday night and Saturday. So I encourage any who can to go to this on Friday night. You cannot take wax candles, they're not allowed up at the Capitol. You can download a candle in your smartphone if you have one, or you can bring an electric candle with you, but no flames, no wax candles. So these are forms of pilgrimage. Duncan Ryuken Williams, and also the Lights for Liberty, a form of deep pilgrimage, a deep voice, a deep announcement and proclamation of the sacred nature of this land that we live on, and that our values must embody the finest values that we can, and that we must demonstrate when those values are being demolished, when humans are being demeaned. We must make that kind of pilgrimage then to have our voices, to raise our voices on behalf of these people who don't have a voice at the moment. So pilgrimage, pilgrimage is on the rise worldwide, and so a deep recognition of the value of moving together in a way to demonstrate peace, to demonstrate compassion, to demonstrate wisdom is sorely needed at this time. So I look forward to your participation on Saturday to come and help make these beautiful cranes. If you've never done it before, I know you've seen them. Many people have seen them. And if you don't know how to do it, it's a good time to learn how to do it. It's not so hard. So we'll learn how to do it, and even if you only make one or two, then your voice will be included in this chain of compassion and wisdom. So
Then you're sending these to him
mhm. Yeah.
by mail?
Mhm.
Is that the plan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I'm anticipating sending them out Saturday afternoon, even though we said that
Mhm.
maybe people could bring them up until Sunday, but I really need to know that they will get there on time.
Mhm.
So,
That's what I was thinking.
so we'll mail them Saturday afternoon. So, so this is also to make them as a form of pilgrimage too, to send the birds, to send the cranes on pilgrimage is another form of going forth into the world in that way. And so, if you think about pilgrimage at all, we are always on pilgrimage. Everywhere we go, we are moving, and the world, the sacred world, moves toward us as we go. As we take our steps, we never know what's going to happen as we move into the world. What is suddenly going to transform us? What eyes we will meet that we'll truly meet, that will have been completely met, that we will never forget because we met in that moment. So this is the potential for us in every single day and every single moment. And so to consider that pilgrimage is our life is a very fine way to practice. This particular essay is on Ancient Way Journal. So if you want to read it, you can find it online at Ancient Way Journal. So any thoughts, anybody, about anything at all?
The Faith Action Network is, one of the events of the Lights for Liberty thing this weekend is going to be at the ICE prison facility in Tacoma.
Yes.
And Faith Action Network is encouraging people to go to that one.
Yeah. So if you look up online, if you look at lightsforliberty.com or org, I'm not sure which, I think it's org, you will see all of the things that they are doing. It's amazing how many organizations there are doing things that you've never heard of before. And so this one came about via Faith Action Network. And so, but look online at Lights for Liberty, and you will see it's all over the country this coming Friday and Saturday. So, much to be done, my friends. Much of our time was spent in the United Kingdom, and I think that the United Kingdom in its own state at the moment was reasonably kind to us. Not as kind in Switzerland, I will say. I wouldn't say unkind either. It's just that I think the Swiss look at us as being
Barbarians.
barbarians. What did you say?
Barbarians.
Did you say barbarian?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear that. But barbarians of its nature. Their governmental system is deeply settled. It isn't that they don't have change or that people don't, move throughout the government, but their laws are settled, and so their assembly people who represent the cantons change every year, but the laws don't change, and they don't have the power to change them without the people. So they come in and they oversee this settled law, and so you don't have this craziness that we have every time our government changes. They kick out the laws and we start over again, which is a kind of insane thing to have this form of government in which you can just throw the laws out and just abandon them, or as we have right now, to just ignore the laws entirely. So it's a very settled place to be, and very sensible in its treatment, with enormous social support for the needs of the people. That's what you do, is you support the people, you support your society. You have high taxes and you receive the benefits of it. You receive excellent transportation. You receive, health care, gorgeous health care. You receive all of the benefits that go with it. And that is the point of civilization, is to take care of one another. So it's always a pleasure to be in Switzerland. And even I there, if I didn't have any health care as a traveler, if something happened to me, I would be completely taken care of, and there would be no doubt that I would be taken care of and I would not receive a bill. And that is the Swiss system. And so there's just a sense of care and I don't know what else to call it except settledness in the society itself. But traveling in Great Britain, it was hard to know who was crazier than Great Britain right now in its particular Brexit problem versus the United States and where we are. So it was pretty sympathetic, and people were sort of laughing at who was crazier, which potential person had more orange hair than the other. And when in one B&B, there was a British man was staying there, and he was going golfing. Well, we were in Scotland, and he was going golfing, and the owner of the B&B said, "So are you going to go to one Trump's golf courses?" And the man said, "Over my dead body." Just like that. So, anyway. Yeah, so it was, definitely peaceable in terms of encountering conversations that always came up about politics. Yeah, Dell?
I'm sorry, I was yawning.
Oh, yawning. Is that a signal to finish here? Okay.
That's why I was trying to hide it.
I see, okay. Anyway, it was good travels. I'm deeply happy to be home. And so I was also very deeply happy to travel. I'm deeply happy to be home. And that's how it always goes, right? We're excited to go someplace new, and then we're very happy to come home. And it's new, completely new when we get home. So it's always new. So anything else, anybody? About anything? All right, well, thank you very much for your practice, and I look forward to any of your help with the crane work that we can do this weekend. So, thank you.